In Napoleon Hill's timeless classic, Think and Grow Rich, he defines a mastermind group as the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. In this podcast, that coordination is created between you, me, and our amazing guests. Our definite purpose is achieving extraordinary results in your business and your life. I'm your host, Brad Mulvey. Welcome to the Millennial Mastermind Podcast. Heyo, welcome back to the Millennial Mastermind Podcast, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. For those of you who are regular listeners of the show, you know that this is the space where I have the honor and the privilege of interviewing guests who are going to give us the inspiration, the tools, and the tactics to help build the lives and businesses of our dreams. And that will continue to be the format of this show for the most part, but this week's a little bit different. Today's going to be a solo episode where I'm going to jam out and nerd out on the topic of motivation for a little while. So if that's not your cup of tea, feel free to go and check out last week's episode with John Berghoff, or stay tuned for next week's exciting episode with Pete Hansberger. But today, I wanted to take the opportunity to chat with you guys real quick about this concept of motivation, because as some of you may have recognized or realized if you have been following this show and you follow the weekly episodes and you're all caught up, I hadn't posted an episode before last week's with John Berghoff for, I think it was over a month, honestly. And typically I'm very diligent about posting every single week, every single Monday. And I'm going to get back to that pattern and to that cadence. It's going to be every Tuesday from here on out. But I wanted to take a second to address where I was, why I wasn't posting, and why just there were no new episodes coming out. And I had some people reach out, some listeners, awesome of you guys to recognize that it wasn't my normal routine, and just asking if things were all right and how everything was going. I very, very much appreciate that, and honestly appreciate the nudge to get back into it. But to be 100% honest, I could make excuses of why I hadn't posted an episode, and I'm not going to do that. I mean, I had a nose surgery, had a few other random things going on. Callie and I were planning a wedding. Crazy time, but there was no reason that I couldn't have gotten ahead of the recordings prior to all those things. They were everything. I knew everything was coming my way. And I just got behind on it. And, you know, honestly, after I didn't post one for 1 week and then 2 weeks, all of a sudden, something interesting happened, and it was much easier. I felt guilty at those first couple of weeks, like very guilty, and then it got a little bit easier not to post an episode. Another week went by, and I realized that I had totally lost momentum. And this can happen in all areas of our lives. I mean, I like to relate things to fitness and to training and working out, because that's something that's very much part of my life. And when you lose momentum in the gym, you know, you have a couple weeks where you just don't have time to get in there, or whether it's running or whether it's playing a sport, whatever that thing is, you lose that momentum. And it gets, every week that goes by, it gets harder and harder to start back up. And when things are going well, say we'll go back to that gym example, and you're hitting the gym hard every single day or on a regular cadence 3 or 4 days a week, and you're really just kicking butt in there, feeling good about yourself, and then you go on a vacation, or then something comes up in your life, in your personal life, that you just can't get to the gym. And all of a sudden, instead of feeling that amazing feeling of working out and how you feel afterwards, all of a sudden you get in this kind of rut. And you know what? Going to the gym doesn't sound so good. Maybe you do have that hour today to get there, but something else pulls you in instead. And then the next week, it's just a little bit easier not to go. or I shouldn't even say it's easier not to go. It's harder to go because you've started to lose that momentum. The ball was rolling downhill, and it's just easier to do things when momentum is in your favor. But then all of a sudden, you hit another hill and you start rolling uphill, and that momentum slows down. You miss a week. Momentum slows down. You miss a week again at the gym or posting a podcast, and the momentum slows and slows until it comes to a screeching halt rolling up that next hill. And once that happens, it becomes much harder to start back up. I mean, it's just physics if you think about it. An object in motion stays in motion, and once it comes to a halt and you have to push it and get it back into motion, it takes much more force to actually get that thing moving, much more energy. And it's the same with the things in our lives. And so sometimes we equate this to motivation, but I think that momentum plays a huge role in it. And so with the podcast, I had just lost that momentum. There was the wind was not in my sails. I was just sitting out there at sea at a screeching halt with the anchor down. And that's where the next piece that I want to talk about today comes into play, and that's accountability. Accountability can come in many forms. For those of you who know the show, you know that I am personally a fan of mastermind groups in any way, shape, or form, including an accountability partner, which I think can absolutely be a mastermind group of two. There's two of you, so there's a group. But sometimes the more the merrier. There may be a cap at that. But accountability is the thing that, beyond my own personal quote-unquote motivation levels and beyond my own energy to get that momentum back, accountability was really what pulled me back in. And so for me, that came in the form of my mastermind group. I missed an episode here, and they said, all right, Brad, what's going on? And honestly, I don't even know if I admitted it that first week. I don't even know if I mentioned it, which is shame on me, because the more that you can be open and honest in an accountability group of any sort, the more that they can help you. But then I think I had my surgery. It was just a minor nose surgery, no need to freak anybody out. But then I missed another week, and I back on the mastermind call. I maybe had missed a week there, and I admitted, you guys, you know what? I don't know that I've posted an episode. I shouldn't say I don't know that I know. I know that I haven't posted an episode in 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it was at that point. And that's when that accountability factor starts to come into play, because they really start to question, okay, well, why is that? Why did you miss those episodes? Was there a good reason? I'm giving me a chance to justify it, and without making excuses, you know what? There was not a good reason. And so then they start to look and say, all right, well, you say that you want to be the host of a successful podcast. You say that you want to build this into a bigger business, but your actions don't reflect that. And sometimes that's a punch in the gut, and nobody necessarily likes being called out for their lack of action or their lack of follow through on something that they're committed to. But sometimes it's just what the hell you need to hear. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I started to feel the pressure from that accountability group, and a good pressure. I don't mean for that to sound negative. I think that just like stress, there's good stresses and there's bad stresses, eustresses and distresses. Going to the gym, a good stress on your body. Getting knocked off your bike by a moving vehicle, a bad stress on your body. So with the pressure and the positive eustress from that group, I really felt the nudge to get back on it. And even at that point, if you don't have that internal energy to get momentum back and to start something back up, having that external force of an accountability partner or a mastermind group or whatever it is pushing you in that direction will always add to that energy, whether you have it internally or not. Now that you have an external force pushing you in the right direction, that gives you some of the strength that you need to build that motivation back up, or momentum. And so with their support, I really started focusing on, okay, what is the next thing that I have to do to get an episode posted? I have to get something on the calendar with a guest. I have to schedule my guests, and I have to schedule them for the upcoming weeks, not just for one episode. And so I got back on the horse with reaching back out to people, making sure that I have a regular cadence. I mean, at the end of the day, it's almost like a sales job. You got to keep that top of the funnel full so you can keep getting good guests. And so that was step one. Step two, getting a guest actually on time, getting time with the guest for the interview, doing the interview, editing the show, posting the episode. And I'll tell you what, so I talk about the mastermind group providing some accountability. How about just accountability with my own life partner, with my fiance, Callie? So the week comes where I'm ready to post that John Berghoff episode, which was last week's, and it's the night before it needs to go live, not finished editing yet. And we had a bunch of stuff going on today. We get home, it's a little bit later, probably like 7 or 8 o'clock, which to me, I'm an old man now, feels so late. And I'm ready to start winding down for the day, getting ready for bed, and just chilling. I mean, it's Sunday night, for crying out loud. Who wants to do some work on a Sunday night? But Callie comes through in the clutch and pushes me to actually finish editing and post the episode. So just another built-in accountability partner. So the more of those you can have, the better, because my mastermind group was not there right then. They wouldn't have known that. They didn't know that I hadn't done the editing yet. They just assumed that I was well on my way to posting it if I hadn't already scheduled it to be posted, because that's what I said I would do to them. So another accountability partner in Callie. So the more of these checkpoints you can have in your life, I think the better. That's certainly proved to be the case for me. And I finish it, get everything scheduled, boom, goes out at 2 a.m. that Sunday night. And, that Monday night, now that we're on the Tuesday schedule. So I guess Tuesday morning at 2 a.m. And I think that's really what makes up motivation. I think motivation is kind of a fleeting term and hard to define. But if I had to really look at the things that actually go into my own personal motivation, frequently it's momentum. That's kind of that level under motivation. To define it is, can I build up the momentum? Because then that motivation is there. It's just kind of built in, and it's very easy to stay, quote unquote, motivated. But without that momentum, if I don't have that moving in my favor, what's the next tool that I can rely on to stay, quote unquote, motivated and get that momentum back? Accountability. So building that accountability into your life wherever you can, whether it's at home, whether it's at the office, whether it's with a group specifically for this. Before the mastermind group, me and my main man, Jake, used to just hop on a call every single Monday morning at 7 a.m., 6 a.m. his time, over in Chicago. And we would talk about our week and what we were going to do. And that was the birth of the mastermind group. But that's all it took to get things moving in the right direction. That was January 2017. And both of us have accomplished a lot since then. So with that, guys, that is the message that I wanted to share today. I wanted to use myself as kind of the negative example of what happens when you lose that momentum and you don't have that built-in accountability. That momentum goes to zero, that motivation goes to zero, and then the productivity and the action goes to zero, ultimately leading to those results going to zero. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, we'll be back next week with another one of the wonderful guests that you come to expect here on the Millennial Mastermind podcast. We'll have my man, Pete Hansberger. So we talked actually just today, and he dropped some value bombs. So I know that you guys are going to love that one. Check that one out. If you find value from the show, as always, it'd be hugely helpful for my podcast and any other podcast, by the way, that you love. I won't hoard the ratings and reviews because this is a world of abundance and there's plenty of rating and reviews to go out. There's not a limited amount. So any podcast that you listen to today or this week that you get some value from, go on and just give them a quick 5-star review. Leave them a couple sentence review and rating. And that is so helpful for us in the podcasting community because, hashtag algorithms and all that. So with that, I will see you guys next week. Can't wait to chat with you again. And as always, if you want to reach out to me, you can at brad@millennialmm.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Take care.